Okay, I call to order the June 2024 meeting of the Special Committee on University Relations of the University of Minnesota Board of Regents. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our fifth meeting as a special committee. Thank you to those who are joining us in the West Room and via Zoom. As a friendly reminder, I'd like to share that today's meeting is not live streamed. Rather, the Zoom recording will be uploaded to the board's YouTube channel after the meeting and for archiving. As a housekeeping reminder, I'd like to note that the West Committee Room has room-wide microphones. These microphones allow for any speaker to be heard in the room, in the Zoom meeting, and on the recording. The audio feed will pick up all audio from the room, including conversations you might have. Given that, please try to limit any side conversations, which includes those around the table and members of the committee who are here with us today in the audience. Additionally, regents and presenters, given that we will not use the room's touch-to-speak mics that are in front of you, please project your voice when you speak so your remarks are clear for official record. Before we turn to our first item, Interim President Edger, would you like to start us off with a few remarks?
Thank you so much, Chair Tal-Urabe. This committee was formed last year during the July board retreat, in part because of the priority that the board had established on creating sort of a public reset, or certainly a more significant public outreach effort. And this public reset is the product of the expertise and the teams that you're going to hear from today. I've had a great chance to work hands-on with each of them. Chuck with numerous interviews and the issues that somehow keep managing to come at us no matter what we do. Ann Aronson, who's not here today, but appreciated working with her directly on the Dear Minnesota campaign and more recently on helping to obtain long-term funding support from the University of Minnesota Foundation, and Melissa Lopez Franzen at the Capitol testifying and in offices. And I think we all know if we don't tell our stories, others will. I mean, even if we do tell our stories, others are going to attempt to tell it a certain way. And so I'm glad we've established support for more steady long-term investments in this public arena. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the professionals and their teams that have led this effort. So thank you all.
Thank you. Now let's turn to our first agenda item. Our first item is an update on system-wide activities related to local government, outreach, and community relations. I'd like to welcome Ms. Melissa Lopez Franzen, Executive Director of Government and Community Relations, Lynn Williams, Chief Marketing and Public Relations Officer from the Duluth and Morris campuses, and Tina Erasmus, Director of Local Government and Community Relations. Ms. Lopez Franzen, would you like to get us started?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Chair Tal-Urabe and Vice Chair Gully for convening us. We are excited to present on the university's activities surrounding local government and community relations. For the record, my name is Melissa Lopez Franzen, and I have the privilege to serve as the Executive Director of Government and Community Relations for the university system. The Office of Government and Community Relations engages with elected officials at the federal, state, and local levels of government. We will focus this morning on the local level and how we develop relationships with government officials and community leaders at the local level, but primarily where our campuses are located, but also statewide. The work of local government and community relations often serves as a front door for the campuses and helps us deepen the partnerships between the university and our community partners. Today, I'll briefly highlight some of our ongoing activities taking place in Crookston, Morris, and Rochester campuses, and then Lynn Williams, to my left, Chief Marketing and Public Relations Officer at UMD, will highlight the efforts in our Duluth and Morris campuses. And finally, Tina Erasmus, to my right, Director of Local Government and Community Relations, will share highlights and insights on the Twin Cities campus. So why is this work important? Because much of our student body population lives in communities beyond our campus boundaries, and they are everywhere across the state. This work helps to promote healthy community partnerships and enhances this overall student experience. For example, when we at the university face a public safety incident, we rely on existing community relationships to address whether at the city level or at the neighborhood level. We work with key groups such as local chambers of commerce and local nonprofits that serve as conduits for engaging in advocacy or efforts in each campus and to address community concerns or university priorities. Our office convenes bi-weekly calls with system campus staff to stay coordinated on local activities while providing support for each campus to activate its local relationships as they deem fit. The work of local government and community relations is unique to each campus. You'll hear a little bit more about that, with outreach taking place by chancellors and staff, and sometimes students as well when we engage with legislators or elected or leaders in those communities. We develop strategies in partnership and tactics in collaboration with each campus to engage with local leaders across our system. This work includes building relationships with elected officials, like I mentioned previously, through proactive engagement and in participation with in-campus and off-campus activities, whether we host them or we bring them to campus to learn about what we're doing in our innovation partnerships. We also assist with ongoing communication. So we talk to leaders in the community. We don't always wait for them to ask questions. We proactively inform them of what we're doing, keeping them informed of university perspectives or extend invitations to university events and community events. And I would note that we also partner with UMN Extension, who has presence all over and staff all over the state and every county. And their strategic partnerships are also another way that this work dovetails to our engagement goals to benefit our entire system. I will move to our Crookston campus briefly and talk a little bit about some other events at the local level. Crookston engages with elected officials in a variety of ways, including direct engagement in large community events like Night to Unite, which in the past year's theme was celebrating community leaders past and present, and the event kicked off at the U of M Crookston Sargent Student Center. Additionally, during Ox Cart Days in 2023, Chancellor Holtzclaw was featured as Grand Marshal. We also support the Chancellor in campus priorities, whether it be engaging with local legislators on campus bonding tours, which every campus has the unique opportunity to host legislators on those tours to showcase our needs, but also when we want to showcase innovative programmatic efforts like Crookston is doing at the moment with public safety programming. Next, we have Rochester, which is also another example of how they cater and do the work locally with deep relationships at the local and federal level. We've had the Chancellor go to DC to testify on innovative partnerships as well with College in 3. We've also had community partnerships, including with the City of Rochester, Mayo Clinic, Destination Medical Center, and the Hormel Institute. Chancellor Carroll meets monthly with elected leaders and others for Government Forum, providing an update to UMR on UMR at each meeting. So that really helps us continue to have those warm relationships with legislators at those campus levels. Local leaders of Greater Rochester Advocates for Universities and Colleges. This organization has long been champion of UMR, and their organization is the only one of its kind in Minnesota. And then the University of Rochester, Minnesota Rochester, continues to demonstrate that college campuses can be structured to prepare all admitted students, regardless of backgrounds, for success, and educators working collectively with partners that can create a future society in which we can all flourish. Now with that, I will hand it off to Lynn Williams to discuss UMD and Morris activities.
Good morning, everybody. Chief Marketing and Public Relations Officer, which includes local and government relations, and I work with the Duluth and the Morris campuses. So like the other campuses, I'll start with Duluth, we do a lot of regular conversations, campus invitations, campus updates with our local elected officials and other community leaders. We work in coordination on different economic development projects like the community housing needs and other capital investments that relate to the university within the area. We host discussions with our campus neighborhood to talk about what's happening around the campus and how that impacts them as our neighbors. And many leaders on campus are familiar faces in the community at a lot of different events like luncheons and the Chamber and Rotary. The picture here is Interim Chancellor McMillan, who served as the keynote speaker last year at the Duluth Downtown Council dinner. Much of this work is a lot less about us as the staff who do it and a lot more about the connections that we make. So finding a connection to someone in the community for a program at the university or a different university contact. I'll highlight two specific examples in Duluth. One is what we call our leadership forums. These are annual events, regular events that we've been doing for a while that brings together community leaders. We have city councilors, our local state legislators, our local federal staff, as well as other presidents and CEOs in the area. They've been really well received. It's a time for networking, a time for us to give updates on what's happening. We often time these around big news, like if we've got big budget news coming out, but it also provides a chance for other executives and CEOs to talk about their priorities with that leadership team, that executive crowd in the Duluth area. It fosters relationships, and more importantly, it allows us to build advocates for the university at that high opinion leader level. This next month, we'll be having another one of these, and it will serve as a farewell for Interim Chancellor McMillan and an introduction for Chancellor Designate Neese to that community leaders group. Another example is hands-on experiences. We've gotten into a really fun tradition of taking people out onto Lake Superior every summer through the Large Lakes Observatory to learn about the water research that we're doing and literally digest some of the soil that they take up from the bottom of the lake. It's really well received. It's been a great way to show people exactly what that looks like, what that science looks like. In this picture here, we've got a mix of different community leaders, Representative Liz Olson, and staff members from Klobuchar Smith and Stauber's office, who all were able to join us last summer. It's my favorite day of work. I'll skip over to Morris. Morris is a really close-knit community, and what happens with that is that those authentic and organic relationships sometimes happen when you run into somebody at the grocery store. And so that's an example of a close-knit community and true community relations. The Morris team routinely provides updates about what's happening on campus, invitations to events on campus, and the chancellor has a recurring column in the local paper to talk about what's happening in the campus. Mayor Kevin Wohlers, pictured here, is an alumnus and also a very regular face on campus, as well as Representative Anderson, who is pictured here with Chancellor Shrunk Erickson on a HEAPR tour on campus last year. The academic year always kicks off with a community welcome picnic in downtown Morris. The event is collaboratively planned by the chamber and other businesses as a way to engage the campus faculty, students, and staff. And the campus is an active member of the chamber, as well as a strong presence at many other events like the county fair. We also collaborate with the West Central Research and Outreach Center for a very popular annual horticulture event that includes a wide gathering of community leaders and community members, as well as local officials. This fall, we're also very much looking forward to the expansion of a 500 kilowatt solar panel field adjacent to the current agrivoltaic array. This project has several community partners involved in it and receives funding from LCCMR. And I will now turn it over to my colleague, Tina.
Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, Regents. My name is Tina Erasmus. I am the university's Director of Local Government and Community Relations. And I will now briefly update you on my work here on the Twin Cities campus. Throughout the last few years, we have supported our university students with housing and safety concerns, promoted voting on campus, and worked with local leaders to promote neighborhood vitality. Our small and mighty government relations team, which has undergone some historic transitions, has successfully navigated these challenges with strong relationships within our university, our partners in Minneapolis, and the new relationships we're forming in St. Paul. With new leaderships in place, Melissa, our future looks bright. One of my most important roles is collaborating and meeting with our local elected officials. I hold regular meetings and check-ins with Minneapolis and St. Paul electeds and their staff. The relationships I cultivate with staff at the local and county levels are the secret to success with many initiatives, such as when we had to close the streets in Dinkytown to address some criminal activity. I also coordinate with city and county staff on projects that affect the university, working closely with Minneapolis Public Works and Hennepin County. Hello, 4th Street Construction. I was honored to attend Mayor Carter's State of the City in St. Paul with Adam Yost from our government relations team, and was also invited to attend Mayor Fry's State of the City for Minneapolis. I also spend time in community, working with the neighborhoods surrounding the university and groups we manage and whose work we help guide, including the Mercy Homes neighborhood, where Dinkytown is located, the Good Neighbor Fund, and the University District Alliance. My favorite project this year, however, and one I was so proud to be a part of, was working with Councilmember Wansley, the Downtown Improvement District, and students from the Carlson's Impact Lab, pictured here. I worked with students to create ways to support Dinkytown, address chronic vacancies, work with small businesses, including they developed a great website, curating a plan for a grocery store in Dinkytown, and reimagining Gray's Coffee Shop. I can tell you that working with these students showed me that our future is in good and capable hands. Another important project is campus and partner safety engagement. I work closely with MPD, Minneapolis Community Safety Department, the Minneapolis City Council, the mayor, and other community leaders. I recently attended a crime prevention through environmental design, or CEPTED, conference and came back excited to share and implement some principles. And I am now looking at how can we set up our environment for our students who live, work, and play in Dinkytown to naturally deter crime. And here are a few upcoming projects. A $20,000 Good Neighbor Fund grant will help us address livability issues in Dinkytown. This grant will pay for extra cleaning, garbage removal, immediate graffiti removal, and 2 deep sidewalk cleanings. We have partnered with the Marcy Homes neighborhood and our block by block safety ambassadors to implement this grant. And together with the city, Nick Juarez from DPS, Eileen Johnson, we created a safety walk program in Dinkytown. And this is a photo from one of our evenings on our safety walks. And here you can see Inspector Toberg from MPD 2nd Precinct, Eileen Johnson, who helps organize safety walks throughout the city of Minneapolis, Councilmember Rainville, and moms from Somali Youth Link. It was great seeing some special guests on these walks, like Interim President Ettinger, Regent Farnsworth, Councilmember Rainville, Wansley, Senator Dziedzic, and many parents, just to name a few. We will be hosting another safety walk in August to conduct a lighting audit in the area. And when we schedule that, we'll pass that information to you as you are all cordially invited to attend. And in closing, while it's difficult to summarize all of our work in just a few slides, this is a good overview of how we concierge and work with local leaders. And I am committed to working closely with our many partners for the good of all of our communities, deepening current relationships, developing new ones. While this continues to be challenging and exciting work, I am so proud to be part of the University of Minnesota team. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back to Melissa.
Thank you, Tina. So that's just a glimpse of what happens at the local level, but every day is different, and every day we channel information coming to us and we decide whether we engage or not, and how we engage is definitely part of the strategy. But we always partner with the community in every way we can. As I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, we coordinate this work across our campuses. While we know each campus holds deep and ongoing relationships on their own with local elected officials and community partners, we leverage those at system-wide. The University of Minnesota requires a long-term, strong relationships at the local level from each campus in order to be successful. We like to have those relationships before we need to ask for something. It's better just to have that relationship as a foundation before we need to activate that contact. We all want to make sure that those are genuine relationships, of course. We also look forward to continuing to work with partners and also introducing our new president-designate, Rebecca Cunningham, to our elected officials. She's already hit the ground running. I think she's been to the Capitol at least 2 or 3 times already to meet with leaders and elected officials, even on the floor coming from the legislature. So those visits are very meaningful, even before you take on the role, that you're showing up and you're showing purpose with those relationships. We want to make sure that we thank you all for this, your attention and ongoing support of our work, which makes local and government community relations activities possible. And they are really unique, but it's also critical for those fostering those relationships long-term for the university, like I mentioned, including with staff, not just elected official staff. And a lot of these offices are really critical, whether it's staff from a nonprofit or a staff from the Chamber of Commerce. Those relationships are ongoing and very helpful to our success. So I'll pause there. Happy to take any questions from the board, and thank you again for your time and attention.
Thank you, presenters. We don't have a lot of time, but we'll make a couple minutes for discussion. Are there any questions or any comments? Regent Johnson?
Just thank you for the presentation. It was excellent. Really, Lynn Williams is like an omnipresence at UMD. I'm surprised you were able to take on another campus, but I'm sure you'll do excellent work. But I mean, Dave McMillan can go any place in the city and everybody knows who he is. He's like, I've seen he and his wife at football games and they're like super fans and dressed up in UMD stuff from head to toe. You've got a new chancellor coming in. How are you going to introduce him to the city of Duluth?
Well, we've got a lot of good plans to do that. So we'll do that in conjunction with Dave as he works with us through the beginning of August. And then we'll be doing, like, for example, I'm already talking to the chamber about him being a keynote speaker at a chamber luncheon event, probably in the spring semester. So similar, I actually was able to utilize some of the transition planning for President Cunningham and copy that over on a different micro level of how we would replicate some of that for the Duluth campus. So there'll be a variety of engagement opportunities, and Dave will also be a critical part of helping to introduce him and make those connections.
Thank you.
Regent Farnsworth?
Thank you, and thanks for the presentation. I've always been a fan of our local community work. These are two questions, and maybe they could be followed up with offline. One, both involving the Twin Cities campus. Thinking about, you had mentioned, Tina, the Gray's Coffee Building, and just wondering, it feels like it's been a while since we've acquired that space, and an update on what's going on there for that significant piece of property in Dinkytown. And then also thinking about what's going on with the fraternities in the city of Minneapolis and the artificial issues around artificial turf and the fence. And I don't know if we're involved in that or not, if we're facilitating any communication or supporting, or I know it's been a significant issue for the Greek community here on the Twin Cities campus. And so I know those are two kind of specific things. If we don't have time today, happy to do offline follow-up. So thank you.
Regent Kenyanya?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Apologize for robbing you of the third dimension, but appreciate the discussion. No, I mean, obviously, we're really excited and focused on government relations, and appreciate the new leadership of Executive Director Lopez Friends. But I think a lot of our conversations have been at the state level, right? I mean, that's usually what we're talking about and talking about the legislature. So I'm really happy to hear this presentation and this focus. Can you all help us just understand a little bit better why that matters so much? I mean, even yesterday we were talking about state support, but students are transient, faculty not so much, but eventually they will come and go. But our institutions are in these campuses, seemingly in perpetuity, and we have to be neighbors. And so can you talk through, just the benefits of those relationships, or some of the the importance of the chancellor being able to call a city councilor or call the mayor, and on one side the kind of the things that helps us accomplish, but also the things that helps us stay out of, and the issues that can be avoided. And then lastly, is there a place for region engagement in here? And if it's no, if it's stay away, I mean, I want to hear that too. But just to understand how we can be effective supporters of this, and if not help, certainly not hurt the local efforts.
Thank you, Chair Talarabe and Regent Kenyanya. I think there's a lot of opportunities to continue to do more work at the local level. I've been enrolled since August 28th, and a lot of the charter was to get ready for a session in the state legislature, and obviously to fill our federal relations gaps. And obviously, local has always been addressed with Tina Erasmus and the team. We are trying to expand more of just beyond the Twin Cities campus, beyond our campuses, to make sure we have relationships throughout the state through extension and others. Why is it important? When we can have a relationship in an area where we know the mayor, and we can give the mayor and the city council and potentially the county commissioners a heads up of something happening in their community before they see it in the news, it goes a long way. So having those open lines of communications, when there's an issue in a community, having them being able to come to us versus other channels, so we can address issues proactively and more effectively than when it becomes a crisis, whether it's an incident that a student has in community or housing issue. for instance, if we take the example of a housing issue where here in the Twin Cities, our student population really needed our support, we were able to engage with local organizations. We were able to engage with elected officials at the local level to help support some of their challenges, even if it wasn't a university per se issue that we had managed, but we are there to support our student population, our staff population all over the state to make sure that they have the support and resources we can provide for them, but also to ensure that it's a two-way street, that the conversation is proactive and ongoing. So there's much work to do there, but we focus on our campuses. That's why I mentioned earlier with our campus communicators meetings that we hold bi-weekly. We're able to hear from them and we're able to say, we need something in Crookston. Who do you know that we should be able to talk to on this X issue that someone has? So that's kind of how we operate, but there's room for improvement in making sure those are ongoing relationships with local electeds and local leaders, not just elected officials.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, presenters. We're gonna move on to our second item. We are short on time today, so we have a lot to get through, but that was really important information, and I hope that for the regions that we continue to just think about and pay attention to also our involvement with local municipalities. Our second item is an overview of the many ways the university engages the people, communities, and organizations across Minnesota with the university's Director of Regional Sustainable Development Partnerships within the University Extension. Oh.
I'm here, sorry. All right,
Ms. Drager, would you like to get started?
yes.
I have a presentation.
I do have a presentation. Okay. Right there. I'll get you. Well, while that's coming up, yes, I'm Kathy Drager, very happy to be here today. I am, as mentioned, the statewide director of the UU's Regional Sustainable Development Partnerships. I'm also an adjunct professor of agronomy and plant genetics on the St. Paul campus. I have also been recognized twice by the Office of Public Engagement as a community engaged scholar. And I just want to say, as a first generation college student from a rural community who achieved 3 degrees at this university, a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and finally my PhD, I am who I am today because of the University of Minnesota. So it's very much an honor to be able to talk briefly about 3 primary University of Minnesota units that are involved in community engaged scholarship. While this is going to start out as a monologue, I would very much appreciate having an opportunity to answer any questions at the end, because I prefer that part. But let me begin by talking to you about the Office for Public Engagement. So the University of Minnesota Office for Public Engagement is a unit within the Office of the Executive Vice President and Provost. It promotes and supports beneficial partnerships between scholars and community members on all campuses and throughout the state. It is recognized as a national leader in advancing community engaged teaching, research, and outreach, and it's led by Vice Provost Lori Van Egram. Now, this is important. This is actually a pretty big deal. The office recently coordinated the university's effort to become the country's very first university system to receive the prestigious Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching elective classification for community engagement. And what's special about this designation is it's the first one that is for the entire university, all the university campuses, not just one campus at a time. So this is actually quite a star in our cap for being recognized as a community engaged system. The Office for Public Engagement oversees the university's Center for Community Engaged Learning, the Center for Urban and Regional Affairs, known as CURA, and the place-based Robert Jones Urban Research and Outreach Engagement Center in North Minneapolis, which you may have heard called UROC. The Center for Urban and Regional Affairs and UROC and the Community Engaged Center for Community Engaged Learning, they focus on initiating and supporting university community research and outreach activities, primarily in the Twin Cities, but also throughout all of Minnesota. I can tell you my program works with CURA on a daily, if not weekly basis. Community engagement requires that scholars, by that I mean faculty, staff, and students, partner with community members not to just deliver, but to co-create, co-deliver, and co-disseminate teaching, research, and service for beneficial and lasting outcomes. To demonstrate the breadth and depth of the university's community engaged work, and as part of the MPAC strategic plan, the Office for Public Engagement maintains the university's public engagement footprint. It's user-friendly and an interactive map on the university system-wide website that features 5,000 examples of universities' community engaged projects. Really, it's worth checking out. The map allows a user to search by location, community partner, university, school, college, project type, and issue. The office also hosts a front public-facing website called M-Engage, which highlights community engaged news and stories from across the university system. It also offers ways for faculty, staff, students, and community partners to build and strengthen community university partnerships. In addition to these resources that are available through the Office for Public Engagement, they also are the key point in recognizing the success and building champions throughout Minnesota. They oversee the community, faculty, staff, and student awards that recognize outstanding community engagement, scholarship, and research. Winners of the President's Community Engaged Scholar Award and Outstanding Community Service Award come from throughout Minnesota and are recognized at an annual event that has been co-hosted by Regent Tad Johnson. Thank you. Videos of the winners are shared with awardees and their networks and are posted on the M-Engage website to celebrate the Office for Public Engagements and celebrated on the Public Engagement YouTube channel. Now, let's move to University of Minnesota Extension. As you probably are aware, Extension is the primary college within the University of Minnesota that's responsible for the outreach part of the land grant mission. The University of Minnesota was founded 115 years ago in 1909 to bring practical educational programs to Minnesotans who otherwise would not have access to such training. Today, University of Minnesota Extension is thriving with educational programs throughout the state that include a wide range of topics. Extension is often thought of as primarily an agricultural entity, and we do that. But it also includes education and outreach programs in community development, climate adaptation, health and nutrition, natural resources, and developing future leaders through 4-H. Extension engages deeply with Minnesotans in a number of ways, including volunteer programs that amplify our educators' work. More than 35,000 trained volunteers took part in Extension programming last year, including programs that you may have heard of like Master Gardeners, Master Naturalists, and 4-H. We have volunteers who teach cooking classes, who gather data on invasive species, and who advocate for climate change adaptation practices. The university's MPAC 2025 system-wide strategic plan set a goal of expanding the university's reach through partnerships. Sorry, I forgot to advance my slides. Through partnerships, and Extension was assigned the goal of growing partnerships by 20% in the first 5 years of the plan. We did that in the first year, and the quality and quantity of Extension partnerships with other organizations continues to grow. Last year, more than 2,000 community organizations, agencies, schools, businesses, and institutions partnered with Extension to provide educational programming throughout the entire state. Minnesotans are eager to partner with their university. The unit I lead, the Regional Sustainable Development Partnerships, or RSDP, I know it's a long name, recently asked for applications from communities and for a variety of projects that communities were interested in having the university show up in their region. From that call for community interest, we received more than 400 applications from communities outside the 11-county metro area. Unfortunately, not all of them could move forward, of course, but it's a clear indicator of communities' interest and in engaging with the university. And I will say that part of my job, with Extension University, it's outreach. But when we have communities come to us, then our job is also to do in-reach. So we reach into the university to find which faculty, staff, and students are interested in engaging with those, in this case, 400 communities that came to us looking for engagement and support for their community-based, not just problems, but their innovations as well. While we collaborate with communities and community-based organizations, it's important to note that Extension's educational programs are rooted in research. Our faculty have joint appointments in the College of Food, Agriculture, and Natural Resource Sciences, the College of Veterinary Medicine, the Humphrey School, College of Education and Human Development, University of Minnesota Crookston, North Dakota State, and the University of Wisconsin. Extension faculty conduct research at all of the CFAN's research and outreach centers, as well as at on-farm sites throughout the state. And with that, I will transition to CFANs. Just one thing I want to add about Extension's reach. You saw on that slide earlier that 65% of Extension staff are located in Greater Minnesota. Just wanted to let you know that I am one of those staff. I live and work in Big Stone County, Minnesota, which is on the bump on the western edge of this county, or western edge of the state. And so just want to say, as of both a faculty member and an extension person, being rooted and embedded in a rural community also provides great bridges, and 65%. And extension has a pretty extensive network of employees throughout this state of Minnesota. So moving on to CFANs, which I'm a proud graduate, alumni, as well as a faculty member of. CFANs, the College of Food, Agricultural, and Natural Resource Sciences, strives to inspire minds, nourish people, and sustainably enhance the natural environment. CFANs has a legacy of innovation, bringing discoveries to life through science and educating the next generation of leaders. Every day, students, faculty, and researchers use science to address the world's grand challenges. CFANs offers an unparalleled expanse of experiential learning opportunities for students and the community, with 12 academic departments, 10 research and outreach centers across the state, the Minnesota Landscape Arboretum, the Bell Museum of Natural History, and dozens of interdisciplinary centers. The Research and Outreach Centers, also known as ROCs. They span Minnesota's 4 biomes and diverse soil, climate and soils types. And as a soil scientist, I appreciate that we worked soil types into this presentation. So this geographic and environmental diversity allows researchers to find the animal, agronomic, and horticultural varieties and sustainable best practices suited for the region each Research and Outreach Center is located in. Interdisciplinary studies span multiple rock locations to evaluate and identify the most productive land and resource management practices needed to sustain a growing global population. The rocks are addressing current and emerging challenges presented to agriculture and natural resources, both here in Minnesota and around the globe, through place-based research opportunities with engaging outreach activities, often in collaboration with Extension. Across the rock network, scientists are studying sustainable cropping systems, livestock production, water quality, renewable energy, forest conservation, and how Minnesota's changing climate affects its economy and quality of life. Discoveries made in the rock system allow for developing groundbreaking research and cutting-edge technology to better understand global challenges of climate change, breed and grow new disease-resistant, high-yielding varieties of agronomic crops to ensure a safe and sustainable food supply, expand food growing seasons through the use of enhanced growing techniques and new varieties of cold-hardy plants. I'm engaged with some of the work in deep winter greenhouses, which was funded by the Minnesota legislature and really is a global leader in passive solar technology for crops to be produced in Minnesota's winters. So provide ecosystem and environmental benefits to soil and water while improving crop and livestock productivity. They also work to prevent the introduction of new non-invasive species while managing those that are already here. They preserve Minnesota's lakes and forests and wilderness for the benefit of future generations. The rock system is incredibly valuable for the system-wide understanding. They continue to engage visitors with more than 60,000 of all ages and interests. And examples include, we have both graduate and undergraduate students who are conducting research and doing work at these rocks to gain firsthand experience with agriculture, forestry management, and natural resource management. These students all work closely with faculty and staff and scientists to strengthen their collaborative problem solving and communication skills while understanding and learning research principles. The rocks connect with agricultural producers. So these are hubs that both bring in producers as well as the faculty and students, and helps our faculty understand what are the local conditions and anticipate and respond to emerging challenges. The Rocks also host K-12 students and introduce them to a variety of topics that connect to their normal day-to-day activities. I love this example. Having students actually hold a shock of oats while looking at a box of Cheerios to draw the connection between what happens, between what's grown in the field and shows up on the grocery shelf, which a lot of people don't understand that basic connection. So the Rocks have built a strong collaboration with the Bell Museum, and today which has camps in local communities in greater Minnesota to bring natural history of our state to them. And finally, one more visible place that the university engages in is, of course, the Minnesota State Fair. The university is highly visible through all 12 days at the State Fair. Ann Aronson from the University Relations will be speaking with you about that during this meeting as well. From our colleges, 4-H brings about 6,000 young Minnesotans to exhibit at the fair in the 4-H building, as well as in the livestock barn. For many of them, this is an opportunity to visit the U of M campus for the first time and to learn about the university as a possible academic and career path. I was one of those 4-Hers. In the Agriculture Horticulture Building, CFANS demonstrates its research and outreach along with Extension Master Gardeners and the Bee Lab. Both colleges have speakers and displays at other locations throughout the fair. It doesn't end there. This is just a sampling of the many places the university will engage with the public at events this summer. Again, thank you for this opportunity to present this information, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Drager. Any questions or comments from my region colleagues? We'll just have a couple minutes for that. Well, I want to thank you for that presentation. I just think that how much the university does with all of the communities across Minnesota. I mean, it just boggles my mind, and I love that website going on it and seeing all of the projects. It's really important for us to remember that, and we touch the state in so many different ways that I think oftentimes I don't even remember. When I go to the state fair, I'm in all of those buildings, and sometimes I even forget that all of those exhibits, and you have to have an apple, you have to go visit the bees, all of those things, but also extension and where extension is across the state, how important that is. And so thank you for all of your work.
Thank you.
All right, our third and final item is an update with the results of the 2023-24 Dear Minnesota statewide reputation marketing campaign. This item was structured as a flipped presentation, which we had access to review on recording in advance of today's committee meeting. And I had a chance to watch it, and I'm so thrilled that we keep trying to figure out how to use technology to make sure that we can see these things. So before we turn to discussion, Ms. Johnson, would you like to share an overview?
Thank you, Chair Tayarabe and members of the board. I'm Laura Johnson, Senior Account Services Director in Marketing. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today with Mr. Tombarge to discuss the results of the Dear Minnesota Reputation Marketing Campaign, our plans going forward, and to answer any questions that you have. I hope you had a chance to listen to the pre-recorded presentation by Ann Aronson, our Chief Marketing Officer, and Mr. Tombarge. Anne's really sorry she can't be here today. She's traveling in Greece, and word has it she's doing her best to extend our campaign messages throughout the Greek islands. So today I want to take a few minutes to summarize the presentation included in the docket materials before we answer questions. The Dear Minnesota campaign launched last September. It features a series of personal video messages from our researchers, our faculty, and our students. They remind Minnesotans that the university has never stopped working to make our lives better and our state healthier by curing diseases, solving societal problems, and educating the next generation of leaders. This campaign was designed to increase positive perceptions of the university among the Minnesota public, as well as to reverse the trend of declining public perceptions about our research prowess. The Dear Minnesota campaign is system-wide, featuring stories from all of our campuses. The campaign has many different elements to it, including television, radio, digital, social media, public relations, and internal communications. The Dear Minnesota campaign renews our practice of conducting annual reputation marketing campaigns, which we began in 2005. Since then, we have consistently raised public perceptions. The exception was the 3-year period from 2020 to 2023, when we were out of the marketplace and public perceptions of the university dropped significantly. The good news is that in 2023, we got back on track and created a campaign with the right message for the moment. The campaign launched in September and just ended in early June, and we've already seen double-digit results. The public's perception of the importance of our research has increased 12 percentage points, and the percentage of how well we perform it has gone up 7 percentage points. Overall favorable impressions of the university are up 11 percentage points, and for those who've seen our campaign ads, favorable impressions are 25 percentage points higher for opinion leaders and 14 higher for the general public than for those who haven't seen our ads. We've also seen widespread media coverage for the campaign themes and increased engagement among internal audiences. When we're in the marketplace, people see our great work, their confidence in us grows, and public support increases. So where do we go next? We must sustain our work to build and maintain the university's strong reputation and public perceptions. Next fall, we will be back in the market with a new edition of the Dear Minnesota campaign. It will feature all new stories that connect to issues Minnesotans care about. We'll also add new strategies to increase our public exposure. As always, we'll measure success through market research. We're also very excited to be back at the Minnesota State Fair this year with a new exhibit in the Crossroads building to highlight our system's contributions to the state. The Dear Minnesota campaign will play a big part in that. In addition, with your approval yesterday of the university's annual budget proposal, we're happy that we now have a plan for an increased and sustained marketing budget. The commitment is for a recurring $3 million annual marketing budget. The foundation will support this with a one-time infusion of $10 million spread over 5 years, supplemented with $5 million from central reserves for those same 5 years. After that, central reserves would take over to continue funding a $3 million annual marketing budget. As you know, last summer, Board of Regents put forward reputation management as one of Interim President Edinger's top priorities. And reputation marketing is essential for helping our constituents understand the university's value. We want to thank you for all of your support for this effort. This concludes my summary. We're happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Regent Farnsworth.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the summary today and for the materials. I remember us talking about the Dear Minnesota campaign at whatever committee meeting this was earlier this year, and so it's nice to kind of see that through line and some of the follow-up and evaluation. Also was, I've been, ever since seeing the work plan, I've been waiting, for the state fair part of this. And, feel particularly passionate about that and was really happy to see the exhibit plans, particularly for the Crossroads building, and glad that that's coming back. online and looking forward to seeing that alive, because I think that is, we've, as the chair was just talking about, we have a distributed presence at the State Fair. I think the Crossroads building has always been a hub of activity for us, if you will. So happy to see that. And I'm looking at the slides on my phone here, and on the floor plan for the State Fair exhibits, I see the kind of back corner or one side of the building for athletics. And I don't know, this is just something that people have pointed out in the past. I don't know if that first game that happens during the State Fair is athletics plans to have a theme for that football game, but people have said that whatever the theme is, there should be merch that corresponds with that theme sold at the fair, because that's a huge sales opportunity. And just being in that, being around that building for my seasonal side gig at the State Fair, my 16-day side gig, there were people walking in all the time looking for, I think it was a gold out this past year, and they were looking for whatever the merch is. So specific suggestion, but I think would be a great opportunity for us to capitalize on if athletics is doing that. And then the last thing is related to this and related to our Driven to Discover building and the Research on a Stick enterprise at the fair, which I think, as that's my understanding is that this is our 10th anniversary doing that. It's been exciting to see that. All that kind of research and innovation work tied with community outreach on great display at the fair. Again, kind of, I guess, along the lines with my last question, this could be something we follow up with offline, but I'm hoping to see us maybe even next year through this committee work to figure out how to invest in the county fair model, which I heard is kind of still looking for a financial sustainability model. And that's something that Regent Turner and I were able to see last year, and would really, really, really like us to try to figure out, from a funding standpoint, an innovative solution to keep that Driven to Discover at the county fair level going. So thank you for this presentation, and looking forward to seeing more of what we do related to this work through this committee.
Thank you, Regent Farnsworth. I don't know if you have any comments just on that. Okay. All right. Any other comments? Yeah, I do just have a question. And my question is, was there anything that we didn't get from the Dear Minnesota campaign that you would have liked to see more of? And I know we're going to continue it, so that's a great thing. But I just wonder, in terms of the types of stories that were submitted, or, regionally, you would have liked to, hear from more people in, certain regions. I'm curious what if you have any reflections on that. Yeah.
Chair Talia Rabi, thank you for that question. We really were very excited by the type of stories that both that we were developing in partnership with our campus partners as well, and also the stories that were submitted after the campaign launched to the website. I think the one area we'd like to see that grow if we were to continue that again, because we really see a lot of value in being able to collect those on an ongoing basis, and then be able to feature them and amplify them through the many different channels that the university has to continue to tell those stories.
I would just add, Chair Talia Rabi, the limitations of the campaign are simply resource limitations. And so it's why the ongoing budget is so critically important. Marketing doesn't occur without dollars to pay for the placement of those ads. But the importance of marketing in all that we do is it also gives us themes and messages and stories to connect everyone else's communications work to. The public relations team and internal communications teams worked very hard this year to kind of build out those themes and to share additional stories through news media, through internal channels and other things. And our only limitation there is our own capacity and the urgent issues that pop up that get in the way of that proactive work. And so We are working really hard, particularly with the team, several of whom are in this room today, to keep that proactive, positive storytelling happening while a number of us are cleaning up issues and dealing with urgent things that pop up in the meantime. But our capacity and budgets are really the only thing limiting us here in this effort, and so it's why that continued investment is so critically important.
Thank you. Regent Davenport?
Thank you, Chair Towery Robbie. And with that, I'd like to just give a shout out to the foundation for their ongoing
Thank you.
investment into this campaign and all that you do. Thank you. It's very impressive.
Any other comments? Otherwise, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Tom Arch. You have some.
Yeah, just a general thank you, particularly to this committee for your interest in this topic. It is a new topic for the board, and I think it's been hopefully a beneficial year to all of you. I think on behalf of all of the teams that do this work across the university system, that support and attention and acknowledgement goes a long way. Thank you to outgoing interim president Jeff Ettinger to engaging with us in things like media interviews. We are getting an early start with the president designate. Dr. Cunningham and Jeff will go with Jake Ricker to the Star Tribune editorial board on Monday, where we're going to do kind of a transitional presidential meeting with the editorial board to reflect on the past year and look forward to the future. So we are starting that transition work here very early. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no more comments, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.